I was looking for a red light or an infrared light. So I went, totally accidentally stumbled upon MedWave on Facebook, on social media, and I clicked on the Tell Me More button. And I can't tell you how fast, how quickly I got hold of one of you. I think I got hold of you, David.
Yes.
I think so. I can't remember. And we had such an amazing chat, and you are so knowledgeable about this, and I was extremely excited. So we decided that we're getting the light. The Welland here in Centurion was in my office the next day, and the light was set up. It was nothing. It took him 20 minutes. The light was set up, and everything was just working. So I've had really an excellent experience with MedWave. As soon as you click on their ad, they are there for you, and they support you in every way. The team is also fantastic. Now that I'm, got the life for a while, it's nice to communicate with the rest of the team and the customers, that wants to know a little bit more about the light and how it works and so on. So yes, very impressed with the service. I had extremely good support from your company. They installed my device very quickly, within a day. It's easy. They built it up, put it in, and it's plugged in. So there's nothing to it. Very easy to use. I had to get an extension lead because I moved the device around the bed as I needed, or position it. So it's just easier for me to get a little extension lead, and that was it. It's next to my examination bed in the room where I treat the patients, and it's easy. Switch on and treat. So I could start immediately. To be honest, I made absolutely no modifications. My room is not very big, but it's big enough to accommodate the light or the device. I have blinds that I can close. The room is nice and dark. I like switching my main lights off when the red light is on. It's just calming and relaxing for the patient too. I find it extremely calming for them. And yeah, it's plug and play. There was absolutely no other. The modifications that I had to make was time. Every patient goes onto the device or the treatment for about 10 minutes. I had to obviously schedule a little bit longer time for that. But in that 10 minutes, it's actually wonderful because it allows you to connect with your patient or to let them just relax a little bit. It gives you talking time. Because we assess a lot, and a nurse, a wound care nurse, is a psychologist, we're physiotherapists, we're everything. So in that time, instead of working on the wound, because you can't really see the wound when the light's on, it's very bright. So that's when I connect emotionally or psychologically, and that's an amazing time. The other times, if I let the patient lie and relax with their eyes closed, I go out and I take a break. So that's also positive, so we get a little bit of a break in our extremely busy days. So the only changes I made was time-wise, and that's it. There's absolutely nothing to it. It's an amazing device. I've seen so many positive things coming out of it, from wound healing. The wounds, the delayed wounds that I had have suddenly started accelerating. Pain-wise, I have patients with arthritis in their knees, and I promise you, you don't even ask them. They come to you and say, my pain in my knees is gone, or it's so much better. I don't take so much painkillers anymore. And the thing is, people tend to just grab medicine and painkillers and everything, and the alternative things are always left behind. So this is an absolute different way of thinking of pain and healing, and it's just amazing. Firstly, see the patient's wound, open it, clean it, because we cool down the wound when we clean the wound, and it delays wound healing. So after cleaning the wound, I then switch the light on, start their treatment for 10 minutes at about 10 centimeters away from the wound. And then obviously, as I said, I chat to them or I let them relax and breathe and just totally switch off for that 10 minutes. Or if they want to ask questions, we do that. Then basically we're done. We dress the wound afterwards, as we always do, and we discuss the next date with the patient for treatment. Well, in our practice, we see a lot of diabetic patients, and obviously with diabetes, we have delayed wound healing and a lot more, issues with the microvascular, systems and so on. So I really enjoy using and seeing the results that it brings to my diabetic foot patients, our leg ulcers that are stagnant, where there's a little spanner in the wheel, where they're stuck in the inflammatory phase. We wake up those mitochondrial cells and to make fibroblasts and macrophages and eventually collagen. So it works absolutely, So patients who are compromised, whose autoimmune system is compromised, it works extremely well because it's just strengthening all the cells in the body and working anti-inflammatory and all of that. So those types of patients do incredible on the system or with the treatment. Contraindications, I wouldn't, and this is what we learned from the studies and so on, we wouldn't put any patient with cancer on the treatment, just because we are already stimulating cells. We don't want to stimulate any cancerous cells, and then pregnant women and so on. There's not really much more contraindications. We look for infection. Well, when we have a diabetic patient's diabetic foot, we do a whole screening on them and see what their glucose readings are like. And a diabetic is not always honest about their glucose readings, so we double check them in many ways. So we look at if there's neuropathy, we test pulses, we look at all these things, and it's just we know we're going to have delayed wound healing. So this is the ultimate assistance or complementary treatment to our treatment that we do. And also we work as a team, the nurse and the nurse practitioner or the wound care sister, the patient, and the rest of the medical team works as a team. We did a little bit of just research into what the medical aids would pay for it, and there's a code 88045 that we can use for photobiomodulation. They only pay 150 Rand for the treatment, so you can either go that way when you have a motivation from your surgeon for wound care. They really don't need, we've seen that they don't need one that says photobiomodulation, just your normal motivation or referral letter from your GP or surgeon or whoever you get it from. Then if the medical aid doesn't pay for it, we have a structure at this stage, and we're very low with our prices, but you can really go up with it. I think the SPNP guidelines have a much higher price, but we charge 150 Rand a session. And what we do is we also bundle it. So if we don't suggest that a patient only goes for one session, especially if it's for pain or even wound care, because what are you going to get out of one session? So we say one session is 150 Rand, but we then say 8 sessions will then give you a little bit of discount. If you pay for 8 sessions ahead of time and book them, you can get a bit of discount. And then 20 sessions will also cost you less than buying them one by one. So you can actually upfront get your payment and and make your profit like that. So it's extremely important that you work out something that works for you. We also say if you want to charge more and optimize your charging, if the medical aid is paying 150 Rand, you can always charge a co-payment for it and say, but we charge 250 Rand, so you're going to have to pay in 100 Rand or 50 Rand or whatever you want to elevate. So there's many ways of optimizing that. Yes, this patient fell in the fire with his hand, with the plantar side of his hand into the fire. He was taken to theatre. He was cleaned up and grafted. And the graft, unfortunately, there was a lot of hematoma under the graft, and it didn't take. So probably about 5% of the graft took, which is always good because we've got some seeding of cells sitting there that can stimulate the new cells. So we decided, the plastic surgeon and I decided together, we're not going to graft him again. He's going to come for conventional wound dressing. So I started with him on the light immediately, obviously also debrided that hematoma and all the, the dead skin and everything off the hand. We started him on the red light, and his progress is phenomenal. He also sits and exercises his hand under the light while I'm sitting and watching him. He does his hand exercises that he was taught by the hand therapist. So I also talk him through it. He's just much calmer. He was such an angry man when he started coming, and I just think the red light has a special power or something because for emotions. That's what I'm thinking, because it honestly calms down everything. And his pain is better. He moves his hand better. As I do, I clean the wound first and then I put it under the red light. So we don't cool that. We raise the patient's core body temperature and especially in the wound area. So this wound is doing exceptionally well. It's epitheliating already. It doesn't need a new skin graft, no infection, and it's healing much faster on a moving hand. Your hand has many little bones that moves, and he has to move his hand. So he's honestly healing fantastically, and his attitude is magnificent. The optimization of our time is basically optimizing a patient's visits. We are obviously doing 10 minutes extra per patient, but as I said, the emotional or the bond and the trust relationship that you create with your patient is much more important than crying about 10 extra minutes for the patient, or 10 minutes you're losing in your practice. So we schedule our appointments longer. Now we don't schedule them every 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. We see what type of wound it is, who the patient is, and our staff is quite good at that now. So we basically make sure that we've got enough time. And then obviously I see patients on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. So my twice a week patients on Mondays and Fridays, and 3 times a week, obviously, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On a Tuesday and a Thursday, I do admin, or I lecture, or I do whatever else I do, for the practice and so on. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've now opened up our clinic as a pain treatment clinic too, which is fantastic because the rooms are not busy at all then, on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we can now take in patients every 20 minutes as they are sent to us, the ones that don't have wounds, for pain management. And that excites me a lot because this now helps our bottom line. I'm training my assistant to do the pain management because it's so easy. The patient can do it themselves. So it's not necessary for me to be there. If it's a pain management patient, it's literally a red light that you place 10 centimeters over the affected part of the body. And we are very lucky to have MedWave that certifies us for to use this device, and you can train yourself to do it. So it's not an invasive therapy. It's literally you lying under a light, and for the amount of time that you've been scheduled for, and your practice can really be optimized by that.
you're currently seeing about 20 patients per week under the light. Is that right? 3 times a week?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, more or less.
So, and generally, if you're able to charge 150 Rand per session, 3 times a week, with 20 patients, in a month, that works out to be around 36,000 Rand. And then
Yeah.
if you do a copay where you also then add on another 150 in cash, that makes it 70,000 Rand of additional revenue that you can be generating in your practice. So those are sort of the numbers. And that's without considering the pain management side. So when you add pain management
Yes.
into it, you can actually increase that even further. So I would say if you're watching this and perhaps you're wanting to optimize your office, you want to charge, but you're not sure, I would say the cost for a MedWave is very affordable. So if you can add a second unit to your practice, it will just help you optimize your schedule even further and see more patients because there's so many people to help. And it's such a small price to add a second unit. So would highly recommend that you consider that as well, finding an extra space to put that into. And Renee, you're going to be getting a second unit now as well. So that's exciting, and you'll be able to help more people in another office.
Very.
And that's what it's all about. It's coming down to helping more patients at the end of the day, and that's we're doing that, which is very exciting.
I think in terms of support to the clinicians, um, I think all of us that have the device already can already guide, our colleagues into using it, tell them where it works for us, where they need to tweak a bit or what they need to do if there's any questions. So we're always there. I'm always there. Any one of my colleagues can contact me. I've already spoken to many of them that have phoned me and asked me if they can come in and see what it looks like, the setup looks like. Absolutely. I mean, and the more of us that have the light can guide our colleagues. So we also get extremely good support from you at head office, with regards to the marketing and everything. It's really it's it's makes it so much easier for everyone. And yeah, so yes, I think a buddy system works well. As soon as somebody gets a device, speak to the person that's already used it for a while, so that this is how I can optimize and really use this device to its absolute capacity. So, well, I could say that this light is going to elevate your practice into a different class. It has done so much good for so many of my patients that we really had delayed wound care, and which is just, in terms of pain and wound healing, has just elevated the treatment and complemented our treatment so wonderfully. So yeah, in short, I can't say it better. It's just an amazing device.